Adjunct Professor Moran. Let's take a look at a production possibilities curve, a tool that helps us make choices. You know from the notes that economics is defined as the study of unlimited wants versus limited resources. That's going to cause scarcity. It's not that you can't have anything you want, but you can't have everything you want. So of all the things you might want, you're going to have to make choices to pick the things that you do want. And a production possibilities curve is a tool that will help us make choices. Economics studies how people use scarce resources to solve unlimited wants. Since not all of our wants can be satisfied, we have to decide between the choices available. Should you use your limited money to put down on a car or take a vacation, for example? Other participants in economic systems besides consumers also have to make choices. Businesses have to choose what and how much of various products to make. Governments have to choose between how much military, guns, spending, and how much social welfare, butter, spending to undertake. When you make a choice, you must give something else up. That is your next best alternative, your opportunity cost. So, when you make a decision, that's your choice. But the thing you give up is so important to us in economics that that thing you give up also has a choice called an opportunity cost. The purpose of this is to make sure that what you choose is actually worth more than what you gave up, the opportunity cost. Traditionally, opportunity cost has been, production possibilities has been taught with guns and butter. Guns represent military spending by the government, and butter represents social welfare programs. This country can produce A through F. They can produce all guns, no butter, or no guns, all butter. Notice that if they produce all butter, they get a lot more butter. If they produce guns, they get a lot fewer butters. That's because some things require more resources, so by specializing in them, you get a lower total amount. So we can graph this, 5 and 0, find 5 guns, 0 butter, there it is. 4 guns here, matched with 5 butters, this point. 3 guns, matched with 9 butters, this point. 2 guns, 12 butters, this point. 1 gun, 14 butters. No guns, 15 butters. It's not possible to produce outside the curve, given society's limited resources and technology. It's possible to produce in the curve, but it's undesirable because it represents unemployment. Any point on the curve is possible if they use all of their resources. Now, any point on the line will represent productive efficiency, the least cost method of production, and it will represent full employment. But only one point on this line will represent allocated efficiency, making the mix of goods and services most desired by society. This is a production possibilities curve. If the economy is at full employment, it can produce on the curve. It cannot currently produce outside the curve. If all resources are not used, that is, if there is unemployment, it will end up producing inside the curve. If the current level of production is 2 guns and 12 butters, and the country faces war, then it may want to increase the production of guns. What's the opportunity cost of 1 more gun? If they want to know if something's possible, like these questions, you want to use the graph. If the question calls for an opportunity cost, then you want to use the table. The first thing to do is find out where we are, 2 and 12. Well, here's 2 and 12. And we want to produce more guns, so we wouldn't be going from D to E because that would represent 1 less gun. Instead, we're going to go from 2 to 3 and gain 1 gun. But by using more of society's resources to make guns, we're using less of society's resources to make butter. And so that 1 gun would cost us 3 butters. Notice the opportunity cost is not the number you end up with. The opportunity cost is a change number. 12 minus 9 is 3. If the current level of production is 4 guns and 5 butters, so let's find that point, that would be B. And the threat of war passes, the country may want to reduce its production of guns so people can enjoy more butter. Yum. The gain of butter from 4 to 5 units has an opportunity cost of 1. So here, we want to produce more butter. So we're going to get 4 more butters, but it's going to cost us 1 gun. That's the opportunity cost, the change number, not the number you end up at. Note that the production possibilities curve is concave to the origin. It's not like this. It's bowed down. This means that we must give up increasing amounts of one good to obtain additional amounts of another. This results from the law of increasing opportunity cost. Resources are not perfectly substitutable between alternate production purposes. So, law of increasing opportunity cost. To get plus 1, we have to give up 1. To get plus 1, we have to give up 2. To get plus 1, now we have to give up minus 3. To get plus 1 gun, we have to give up minus 4. And to get the last gun, we have to give up 5 butters. To get a constant amount of one good, to increase your production of a constant amount of one good, you have to give up increasing amounts of the other. And that's because resources are not perfectly substitutable, for example, in the production of guns versus butter. So you'll have to take increasing amounts of resources away from this to get a constant amount of this. And so the law of increasing opportunity cost, to get a constant amount of one, you have to give up increasing amounts of another. Why does it have that shape? Because resources are not perfectly substitutable. And what shape is that? Concave. So let's do some questions concerning production possibilities curve. A manufacturing company has to decide between producing either trucks or automobiles. Its production possibilities curve is as follows. So let's graph that. 150 trucks and 0 cars. 120 trucks and 81 autos. 90 trucks and 144 autos. 60 trucks and 189 cars. 30 trucks and 216 cars. And 225 0 trucks, 225 cars. Connect the dots. Measure production possibilities curve. What is the shape of your production possibilities curve? Concave. Why does it take that shape? The law of increasing opportunity cost. The idea that you get a constant amount of one, you have to give up increasing amounts of the other. Currently, the company is producing 90 trucks and 144 cars. 90 trucks, 144 cars. What is the marginal opportunity cost in trucks if the company wants to produce 45 more autos? 45 more autos would be moving from point C to point D. Going from C to B would lose production of autos. Alright, so now to gain 45 more cars, the factory would be using less of its resources to produce trucks, and you would lose 30 trucks. At this point, most textbooks just wander away from the topic, but this is really what it's used for. So let's say we've got cars and trucks. We're going to gain 45 more cars and lose 30 trucks. So let's just make up some numbers here. Let's say the profit on a car is $1,000 and the profit on a truck is $2,000. Okay? So this company, by producing more cars, would gain $45,000 in profit, but by producing 30 trucks, they would lose $60,000 in profit. So at this point, if this were you, although your boss came out and says, we want to produce 45 more cars, you go back and say, well, okay, boss, we could produce the 45 more cars and gain $45,000 in profit. But by doing so, we're going to reduce our production of trucks by 30, and that'll cost us $60,000 in profit. This may not be a good idea. And that's what you want to do with this. So currently, what's the opportunity cost? Okay, the opportunity cost would be 30 fewer trucks. Again, it's not the number you end up at. It's a change number from 90 to 60. The company is currently producing 120 trucks and 81 autos. So now we're at point B. The company wants to produce only trucks. So they're going to go from here to here, and they're going to gain 30 trucks, but they'll lose 81 cars. So it's 81 fewer autos. Is it possible to produce 90 trucks and 160 cars? Here you want to use the graph, 90 and 160. So that's outside the curve. No. Outside production possibilities curve. And that would be no based on the company's current resources, like the size of its factory, and technology. In the long run, the company could, but it would have to expand its production possibilities curve out by either getting more resources, a larger factory, for example, more workers, or by having improvement in technology. Finally, the company's output has fallen to 70 trucks and 120 autos. 70 trucks, 120 autos. What does this represent? This represents underemployment or unemployment. This factory isn't using all of its resources, or it could be using it may not be using least cost method of production. This is the only time that you can get more of both goods if you put your resources back to work. At any other time, to get more of one, you have to give up some of the other. That's the choice you're making. We're trying to make this choice explicit so we know if what we're choosing is worth more in value than what we've given up. This is a production possibilities curve.